Course Plus. Expressway to elegant career.
Step number 3. Understand their effect on you. When you froze that moment in time when you got triggered, focus on the effect. What do you start thinking about yourself? What do you start thinking about your ability to perform, your capability, your skill set, as well as certain truth about who you are, about who you think you are? When you perceive that trigger, do you start, for example, thinking that you're too stupid to understand, or you don't have the money, or you are not worthy? Again, these flash into your mind in a split second. You have to really freeze these and slow them down. Now you may be thinking that these are just statements that flash into your mind. They're not. They do have an effect on you. They program you to perform and feel a certain way, and ultimately, they depress your confidence levels. Keep going back to the trigger and focus, in slow motion, on the effect it has on you. Keep tossing this around in your mind until you see the clear connection. If you're frustrated with any part of your life, believe me, this is happening. It takes place over and over again, and the result is your life. Step number 4. Get a sense of urgency about conquering these beliefs. Now that you have gone through steps 2 and 3 enough times, it should be clear to you that your negative beliefs' effects should be clear enough to you. Once you see the connection between the things you choose to believe about yourself and their triggers, as well as the results they produce, now is the time to take action. You have to allow yourself to get a sense of urgency about conquering these beliefs. Be clear that you need to change. Be clear that you need to break out of this negative downward spiral. However, that sense of clarity must rise to the level of emotional urgency. Make no mistake about it. All of us are capable of intellectual realizations, but these are not going to change your life. You can come up with all sorts of amazing insights, but until and unless you feel so pumped up about making certain changes based on these realizations, your life is not going to get any better. Focus on getting a sense of urgency about conquering these negative beliefs that hold you back and drag you down. Conquer negative beliefs. Now comes the good stuff. In the previous steps, you have become clear as to certain beliefs that hold you back and prevent you from operating at peak performance levels. In this section, I'm going to step you through the process of getting out from under these negative beliefs. Remember, your life is a product of your beliefs. Change your beliefs and you change your life. I know that sounds so easy, but what it makes it so hard is the fact that people do not use a systematic and methodical way of undermining their negative beliefs. Instead, they go with their feelings. They just jump at the opportunity and they end up failing again and again. If you want to conquer your negative beliefs and start living a life of possibility and victory, you need to follow the steps I'm going to share with you below. Stick to them. Follow them to the letter. Step number 1. Trace negative beliefs to memories or past situations. Let's get one thing clear here. People will not believe certain things about themselves if they cannot trace it to some sort of memory or some sort of past situation. It's not like somebody just told you that you're stupid or you're weak and incapable. It's not like somebody told you that you're going to die poor and powerless. These conclusions must have come from somewhere. That somewhere is traced to a series of events or certain memories. Your job with step number 1 is quite simple. Find those memories. Find those situations. Now understand that there is such a thing as a false memory. These are events that we choose to believe happened when, in reality, they did not happen as we remember them. How do we know and how do we deal with this? Check out step number 2. Step number 2. Are the facts behind your memories complete? This is the most basic question you need to ask yourself, because if you believe that you are afraid of taking a risk because you got burned before, maybe the facts behind your recollection are incomplete. Maybe you jumped to the wrong conclusions. Maybe you assumed that certain things were there when they were not there. You need to believe that you jumped to the wrong conclusion. Look for a missing piece. Look for a fact that you assumed was there, but it turns out that it wasn't there at all. You need to zero in on this fact to diffuse the power of your negative belief. For example, when you were growing up, your father may have called you an idiot once, but you hung on to this negative memory and assumed that you always thought that you were stupid, dumb, and will not amount to much. Now, think back to the time when he called you an idiot. Was he talking about you, or he was saying something instinctively? Was he reacting? Do you see how it works? It turns out, oftentimes, that people who love you would say certain things out of place and out of character. In fact, you may have even jumped to the wrong conclusion because they may have been referring to something else. Whatever the case may be, believe this to diffuse and dilute your negative belief. Stop assuming that certain things are present when, in reality, they may have been missing. For example, if you were in a junior high school and this very pretty blonde girl that you've always liked turned around and, in your general direction, said you're ugly or called you an ape, you may have carried this negative belief with you for the rest of your life. You may even have suffered from low self-esteem because of this. What if it turned out that she wasn't referring to you, but the guy behind you, or she was referring to something else? In other words, you jumped to the wrong conclusion. You did not realize that you were missing facts in that memory. You have to examine the factual basis of your negative beliefs and ask yourself whether you've jumped to the wrong conclusions. Are you imagining things that were not there? Again, you have to believe this to diffuse or dilute your negative belief. Step number 3. If the facts are complete, did you exaggerate them? Let's assume that your father did call you an idiot and he was referring to you. Now ask yourself, are you exaggerating things? Are you blowing things out of proportion? Was it really as bad as you imagined? Now, it's one thing for your dad to say, you're an idiot. The same he would call his friends or even himself an idiot or stupid if he or somebody else made a mistake. Now, does this mean that he thinks you're not going to amount to anything? Does this mean that he thinks that you're borderline retarded? Because you have to understand that these two lines of logic are very different from each other. People do say things that they shouldn't say. It is true that when you're around children, you have to be very careful on what you say because it's like riding on wet cement. And that may have happened with you. Your father or mother may have said something negative, but you blew it out of proportion. You made your life miserable because it became the central fact of your life. You may have been living a life of defeat and misery because of that one time when your mother called you a bitch, or you may have found yourself in a rough situation and had an abortion, but let me tell you, one mistake doesn't define you. Everybody is capable of a bad day. You may have been laughed at by your class, or you may have been even thrown in jail, but all of us are capable of that one bad day. Does it really make sense to define your life based on that one bad day? This fact happened, but it's up to us whether you're going to exaggerate them and blow them out of proportion, because the more we do this, the worse that memory becomes. The emotional cascade that it triggers gets worse and worse every time. Stop exaggerating your failings in life because, believe me, all of us have failings. If you're really honest with yourself, those bad memories are not really as bad as you imagine them to be. You have to believe all of this so as to diffuse and dilute your negative belief. Yes, your mother or father called you an idiot, but it's not what you think it is. It doesn't justify you automatically concluding that you're not going to amount to much in life or you're completely and totally worthless. Step number 4. If the facts are complete, did you overreact? Now, understand that there is a big difference between overreacting and exaggerating. I know they may seem identical in certain situations. In fact, a lot of people think they're one and the same. They're not. When you exaggerate a fact, you blow it out of proportion. When you overreact, you read into the fact all sorts of things you shouldn't be reading into it. Take control of your reaction right here, right now. Even if it's true that your father called you an idiot, it doesn't mean that you should overreact and assume that you think you're worthless, and even worse, assume that you are worthless. Stop overreacting. Take control of your reaction to these past events right here, right now. Because if you don't, your negative beliefs will continue to erode your confidence. It will continue to eat away at you, and you will be unable to live a life in a way that ensures you perform at peak levels. Step number 5. Imagine if you did not have these limiting beliefs. Regardless of whether you take step 2, step 3, or step 4, focus on the negative impact of your limiting belief. Put it another way, imagine how much happier and powerful you would feel if you did not have these limiting beliefs. Imagine all the things that you could have done with your life if you did not have to carry that heavy weight. Focus on your confidence levels. Realize that your level of confidence is due to what you choose to believe about yourself. Get that sense of urgency to do something, anything, to knock the facts out of your limiting beliefs. You have to remember, these limiting beliefs get their power from the fact that you think they are real. You think that they are reality. When you operate with a heightened sense of urgency, you will find a way to start picking at them. If you can't knock them out by going through the front door, you can try the side door. If that doesn't work, go through the roof or the back. You can dig a tunnel. Whatever it is, do not give up because with sustained effort, you will be able to pick apart these facts and come up with a view that enables you to neutralize the power of your negative beliefs. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to pretend that this did not happen. I'm not talking about self-delusion here. All it means is that you're going to relegate this to the past and tightly define them in such a way that they no longer have negative hold on you. They're still important life lessons, but they do not have to define you.